The Bostonian is Matt Perrault.
This is our city.
The book is Dave Sherapan.
Pay him. Pay that man his money.
Together, they are the Bostonian versus the book.
You covered! You covered 12! I covered!
Follow the show on Twitter at Boston versus the book.
How do you like them apples?
Bringing you the best insight on sports betting news, Matt and Dave's daily picks, and an entertaining and unfiltered dive into the sports betting industry. Here's Dave Sherapan and Matt Perrault.
And here we go.
What's up, boys and girls? How are you? Welcome into a Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon edition of the Bostonian versus the book. My name is Matt Perrault. Thank you for being here, everybody. We're live on YouTube at Boston versus the book. Same on Twitter and X, where we played on Sports Grid Television and SiriusXM Channel 159 each and every night, late night for you guys, 10 p.m. Pacific time. For everyone, if you're watching on the replay, thank you for being here. If you guys are live, obviously, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. I got an update for you on Dave here in just 1 second. We'll talk a lot about what happened last night with the swing off for the All-Star Game. First time we've ever seen that. Our team of the day is Penn State. Speaking of Dave, do some Penn State Nittany Lion. I figured we've done back-to-back SEC schools, so let's do Big Ten, Big Ten. And by most people's accounts, they're putting Penn State above Ohio State. So let's talk Penn State first. We'll talk Ohio State tomorrow. D-Bro, Derek Brown, joins us from Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros tomorrow to do some NFC North conversations, betting on prop bets that he likes for the NFC North. We did the NFC East last week. We'll do the NFC North coming up tomorrow. And then on Friday, Randy Moss, not that Randy Moss, but Randy Moss of NBC Sports. There's a horse race this weekend that we're going to talk about because there's some big name horses that are going to be in it. It is sort of a precursor to the Breeders' Cup, so we'll get to Randy Moss on the show on Friday. That is also our second installment of a Fight Song Friday, not Roll Call Friday, but Fight Song Friday. If you guys do want to recommend, request, whatever you want to call it, for a fight song on Friday, you can email askthebvb@gmail.com and say, Matt, I want to hear X, and I would do my best. It has to be sent in before Friday because I need the morning to do it. So today, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, I need you guys to make the requests and I will get to the fight song. You can be as wonky, wild, and outlandish as you want in terms of fight songs. I don't care. Could be Chattanooga for all I care. Doesn't matter. Just pick one. Said my alma mater is so-and-so and I want to hear it. So go ahead and email me, askthebvb@gmail.com, and I'll do my best to play it for you guys on a Fight Song Friday coming up on Friday. But before we do the opening line, here's an update on our friend Dave, the book, Mr. Consig, whatever you want to talk about. So Dave is still in the hospital. That's the bad news. It's not so much bad news, but he is still in the hospital. There was some hope that he would be out by now. The doctors haven't cleared him to be discharged, and they don't know when they're going to be able to do it. So now we're going on 9 days for Dave to be in the hospital following the surgery to remove the cancer. So clearly that's not great, but as far as the surgery, everything is going completely according to plan. As far as the recovery, everything is on pace. It's a slow and steady thing, okay? Always forward, never straight. He's moving forward, okay? It's not a direct line. It's not perfect. I'm sure Dave would want to be up and about and out of there. He is also not being given access to his phone. His family, they've made sort of an executive decision to say, we're not going to allow Dave to go online and we're going to keep him off of the internet, if you will, simply because he's on a lot of pain medication and it's just not a good place for him to be. So he's also just not really in a place mentally to be able to go on the internet. So that's why if you're used to seeing Dave tweeting a lot and you're like, why isn't he on X? Why isn't he posting? You know, what's going on? There hasn't been a story time for the book since he went. They're working on a bunch of things. They're getting him back to be able to eat. Like that's, I was talking to Jessica, texting with Jessica this morning, his wife, and the next real big stage for him is that they need him to be able to eat. So he hasn't been able to eat. He wasn't eating much before the surgery, and now they need him to be able to eat going forward before they can discharge him. So that's a milestone that they're looking for with the recovery. But in terms of the healing from the surgery is going exactly on schedule at the moment. So the bad news is Dave's still in the hospital. The good news is everything's going according to plan. There has been no complications. There have been no red flags or issues that have popped up that could cause the doctors to feel concerned about the transplant, about the tissue that they took from his arm to put into his mouth, all the things that needed to be happening, that had to happen for the surgery. So it is not going to be a quick recovery like we've talked about. The rehab is going to be long, and Dave is going to need our support to get him through the next month or so. Once he does come out of the hospital, he is nowhere near out of the woods. He's going to need our support, and he's going to need to work and rehab and to get himself back. But again, that's why if everything goes according to plan, it would be he gets out of the hospital somewhere around, the end of the week. He then sees his surgeon on the 22nd of July, and then he's back in Vegas on the 23rd, 24th, somewhere in that range. And then we get in 1 month from then, we all get to celebrate Dave at Circa at the Ultimate Football Contest weekend on August 21st and 22nd. 2 shows live, Circa Sports. We're going to be there. The hope is Dave will be there too, and he'll be on his way to returning to the airwaves, and both on Sports Grid and on here on BvB. That's the goal. Okay, that's always been the goal. That's always been the push at 6 to 8 weeks, somewhere in that range. And maybe Dave can't even, if he can't come back on the 21st, the hope is he's going to be able to just be there, even if it's not on the air, just to be there, to see you guys and to thank you guys in person. And that's why we're trying to get everyone together to be there at the Ultimate Football Contest weekend for Circa on the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of August, not July, of August. So that's the hope. So there's your update. Good news. It's not going perfectly, but we didn't think it was going to go perfectly. So yeah, exactly, Whitrock. Sherapan strong and always forward, never straight is definitely into where we're going. Like it's not going to be a linear, like A to B and Dave's fine. Okay. It's going to be a while. He's still in the hospital. He had the surgery a week ago. So having him be there, he's exactly where he should be, and he's in a very good place. So if anything happens and goes wrong, he's at a tremendous hospital that's going to be able to deal with anything. So it's going to be hopefully some good news this week, and hopefully he does get discharged, but they haven't said that word yet to the family. They've not really talked about it. Today was the target date. They've missed it, but that's not a big deal, because they've got some other things they have to make sure Dave's capable of doing before they're going to let him out of the hospital. With that good news, we start the show with the opening line. Opening line on Major League Baseball. We got to go ahead and give baseball its flowers, if you will. Major League Baseball has done a lot of things right by the fans in recent memory, and you guys have rewarded them and rewarded the sport with your eyes and your most valuable commodity, which is your attention. And people were paying attention last night to a really unique and cool way of deciding an All-Star game. We're not dealing with ties anymore. Now we're doing a home run swing off to see who wins the thing. You have to have a winner. You can't have a tie. In American sports, we don't do ties. That's for soccer, and we don't like soccer. So we're not doing that, okay? We're not doing ties. We're doing a winner. And last night, the National League blew a 6-0 lead and nearly cost me my bet. And it was a bad night for me overall because I had the under, and the game flew over. But I had a nerfy in the first, no run in the first inning. That was dead. Thanks, Tarek Skubal. Tigers are now officially, the whole team, all of them, now officially on my X list. Not dealing with any of them. Unbelievable. He gives up 2 runs. National League wins the game 7-6. More on their win here in just 1 second, but pitch clock has worked. Timeout limits, how much you can check out of the box, has worked. Mound visits, limiting the number of mound visits, has worked. The 3-batter rule, when you bring in a reliever, that reliever must face 3 batters. They've all worked. All of those moves in Major League Baseball have worked. It's like the anti-NFL. It's like every time Rod Manfred and the competition committee gets together to make a rule change, they've done a really good job, except for the ghost runner, which is still the stupidest rule in sports. Manufacturing offense, artificially inserting offensive situations to end a baseball game is dumb. The shootout is dumb in hockey, and the ghost runner is stupid here in baseball. However, I don't think a swing off, a home run derby is a good idea for a regular season game. I've seen that today. People are like, why don't we do that in the regular season? Forget the ghost runner. Give me 3 batters with 3 swings and let's see who can hit a home run. Nah, that doesn't work. But for an all-star game, that theater was incredible last night. That was as good as you could have hoped for from a must-watch, stop what you're doing and pay attention to the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Here's the problem, if there is a problem. One, it was 11:30 at night Eastern time. I'm on the East Coast. I am feeling your pain today if you are in the Eastern time zone because you're trying to stay awake, you're trying to watch this thing, and it's 11:30 at night. And the American League did nothing until basically the 6th inning when they started to score at the back end of the pitching staff for the National League. When all the high leverage guys were gone and you had all-stars, but you didn't have like real all-stars, you started to get offense. And then you need to bring in Edwin Diaz, and Diaz closed the door, but not before he gave up a ground ball that tied the game. The American League rallied. The American League didn't stop, and give them credit. They kept on trying, and they didn't punt on the game, and they came all the way back to force that situation last night where we wind up having an incredible night watching baseball. The only change I would make besides the time is that you can't have players in street clothes watching. Terry Skubal had been showered and changed. He was in street clothes. That's a horrible look, okay? Can't do that. And you cannot fail to use the best bats that I get it. And this was determined, if you're wondering, like, why did they do the order that they did? It was predetermined. They had already decided who was going to be the designated home run hitters. And the National League decided that we're going to have Pete Alonso and Kyle Schwarber as part of our lineup. And the American League just was like, throw that guy and that guy and that guy. Like, there wasn't a lot of thought there put on by the American League by Aaron Boone, which, if you're a Yankee fan, I got that in my DMs this morning. They were like, well, what do you expect? It's Aaron Boone. Of course he's going to forget who's on his team. Of course he's not going to go out there and put Aaron bleeping Judge into a home run hitting situation. Ohtani and Judge not being a part of that yesterday was an absolute joke. Like, let's call a spade here. You've got the 2 most prolific power hitting players. Like, what are you doing? JC from KC. Aranda has like 12 home runs, right? Like, why did they use him? It didn't make any sense why you would use him. But that's just because they decided ahead of time how they were going to structure this, because nobody thought it was going to happen. It was the first time they ever could use it, and they wound up using it. Like, I don't know. So premeditated, a pre-thought out situation where Aaron Boone says, no, Aaron Judge is not going to be part of a swing off. He's going to come out of the game, hit the showers, and then, go ahead and get on a plane to go fly to Bora Bora or whatever. Aaron, don't worry about it. Come on. And then the same thing for Ohtani. It's the same thing for Dave Roberts. I mean, it's his player, right? It was the same situation. Dave Roberts and Aaron Boone, their best players, Ohtani and Judge, they both made the conscious decision to say, no, these guys are not going to be part of the home run derby. Yet they used, at least in the National League side, they used the second and third best options in Pete Alonso and Schwarber. Pete Alonso hit a 3-run home run last night that killed the over bet. I mean, also won the game for the National League, but killed my under bet, drove that over. Once that 3-run homer happened, I was like, okay, I'm done. See you later. I don't know. Brendan Barber says that's like the NBA with a slam dunk comp to decide it. I guess so, but one, a slam dunk contest is judged like you would have judges. So that's not the same thing. kind of like a 3-point contest, I guess. It's kind of like a 3-point contest on that. Not horrible. I mean, I think that there are some comparable conversations. Obviously, the shootout is the most comparable here for what happens with the home run derby with a swing off. But I don't know. I liked it. I would not like it during the regular season. I don't want it to be part of baseball in any other situation but where we did it at the All-Star game. It has to be an All-Star game, and that's it. I don't need it for a regular season game. But, and Eric points this out, there were some books that were not grading that a win last night until they had to backtrack. William Hill had it as a push, and then they had to go back into the system and change it because it was 6-6 as it went final. That was ultimately the 6-6. There is no part of their system, I'm assuming, to grade a win from a swing off. So I saw that. I saw some people saying it was going to be a push. I saw others that said it was going to be something else. It was going to be, a void or whatever. But I'm very happy to see that most, if not every book, paid that out from a National League perspective on that. Brendan asks, what do we think about starting rosters for the field? I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I just think in terms of the only thing I would fix from what happened last night is that I would have made sure that Ohtani and Judge were a part of the 3-batter rotation for both the American League and the National League, because the National League would have Ohtani, Schwarber, and Alonso. I mean, I don't care who the American League puts up besides Aaron Judge. You're not going to match that from a power hitting perspective with the current roster of American League All-Stars versus National League All-Stars. But what Kyle Schwarber did last night, the cinema that was, the amazing moment that was, the incredible drama that was perfect. You could not have scripted that better. Maybe you tweak a little bit, a couple things, okay? Again, because it was done ahead of time and the managers chose those 3 guys for the contest ahead of time, you could have easily had Ohtani and said, hey, you can't shower. I need you to stay. And most guys stayed anyway, but a lot of guys left. And that's a little bit of an indictment on the game. Guys shouldn't leave, okay? I don't know where you're going. I'm sure you have some private jet to catch to go somewhere, but players shouldn't be leaving in a tight game, okay? So I didn't like that. I didn't like players leaving. I didn't like the players in their street clothes on the field watching, but it was cool they were there anyway, just to watch the damn thing, because it was unbelievable. And then 3 swings and 3 home runs when the American League is up 3-1 and the National League had to have it. The only problem is it would have been great if Alonso had been able to hit the walk-off, because if Alonso hits the walk-off to win it, if it's 4-4 and Alonso comes up and hits it to win it for the National League, I really think Alonso wins the MVP, because he had a 3-run home run and then he would have hit a home run for the win. So he wins the MVP. So if you had bet Pete Alonso to win the MVP of the game, that would have cashed that ticket. Instead, Kyle Schwarber literally just goes ahead and rips that thing away from Pete Alonso by hitting 3 home runs. And it's hard to argue that Kyle shouldn't have won it. I mean, talk about the clutch. He talked about the fact that he was nervous when they interviewed him. He was like, I was a little nervous. He got up there and he was like, I got to do what? Okay. And then you heard John Smoltz say it. Once he got the first one, it was all downhill. Like, he just needed the first one. The first one was unbelievable. Got that. And then it goes 2, 3. The third one was the shot, was the moment, was the picture, was the image that in 10 years, when I think about the 2025 All-Star Game, the image of Kyle Schwarber on one knee hitting the ball to the moon to right field in Atlanta, that's your lasting image of the All-Star weekend. Baseball did it right. Congratulations, get it right. Yeah, Kershaw's interview was tremendous. I would agree with that. That was so cool to have him be talking through the pitches. Again, I'm a big Clayton Kershaw guy, so that was really, really fun. And Eric's been on this for a long time. The robot umpire, they went 4 for 4, right? The catchers and pitchers that challenged, that tapped on top of the head, they went 4 for 4, I believe, right? Yeah, that's coming next year. There's no debate that we're getting that. They already have it at AAA. We've talked about it here on the show. They already have the challenge system. It's quick. It's easy. It's tap of the hat. Real quick. Go ahead. Bam. And it's baller strike and away we go. I mean, we were ending rallies last night with that. I mean, that's pretty cool when a catcher or a pitcher, they're like, hey, man, you missed it. Yeah, that's a strike. And they go ahead and challenge. And there we go. And it's ring you up. Goodbye. That's going to change baseball. Next year, that's going to change baseball for sure. And Brendan Racone, the Fox broadcast was way better than ESPN's. 100% correct. 100%. I would give a ton of credit to the way that Fox did that broadcast last night. I don't need A-Rod, Jeter, and Ortiz, however, being asked who is going to win the World Series, because their answers are so programmed and so biased towards the fans that are the most vocal. It's ridiculous. Like, of course, David Ortiz is going to say the Red Sox, okay? And of course, A-Rod is going to say the Yankees, and the same thing for Jeter. They're going to say the Yankees. So it's like A-Rod was, at least he couched it by saying, like, I really don't know, but I guess I'm going to say the Yankees and the Dodgers. He just grabbed the two low-hanging fruit to grab onto it, the rematch from last year's World Series. But other than those two guys or three guys with A-Rod, Jeter, and Ortiz, everything else that Fox did last night was great. It was really fun. It was a fun night at the ballpark. It was a fun night to watch. The Hank Aaron tribute was tremendous. Look, you got to give baseball credit. They've done a lot of things right, and it's all showing in the ratings. People are watching. Kids are paying attention. You know, the superstars are there, but there are a lot of young players that are captivating different markets that fans are really either excited about or know they'll be there soon. Paul Skeens, Jacob Mizorowski, both those guys pitched last night. That was really fun to watch them come out. The power arms that are available right now. Obviously, it's Skubal and Crochet in the American League. Young arms that are going to be there for a long period of time. Game of baseball is in a very, very healthy place at the moment. As a baseball fan, I mean, that's just absolutely tremendous. So just to continue on that, the final 7-6, the National League now has won 2 of the last 3 All-Star games. They still trailed the American League 48-45-2 in the Midsummer Classic. But how about the defense? Like, the defense was amazing in the 9th inning. Suarez, that play with the bare hand at third base by Suarez, that basically saved the game. I mean, the American League would have won the game in the top of the 9th inning because the National League, they weren't scoring on Chapman. When Aroldis Chapman came in the 9th inning, they weren't scoring on him. He was throwing 100, 101 mile per hour, 95 mile per hour slider. You weren't going to get a run off Chapman last night. So if they had taken the lead, which they would have if they did not get that play made by Suarez, and then just really good defense in terms of just fielding the ball for the National League in the 9th inning, I was probably more happy about that I actually saw real defense from the National League. Fielding the ball, fielding their position, doing what they have to do to keep that game. And they still gave up 2 runs in the 9th inning to tie the game at 6. But I want to go back to something that Pete Alonso said 2 days ago. He didn't say it yesterday. He said it at the media day before the home run derby. It was on Monday. What Pete Alonso said, he said it to Barstool Sports, where they found it was pretty interesting. I don't know if you guys saw this. Pete Alonso, who did not hit last night in the Derby, but hit a 3-run home run during the game. He was going to win the MVP. He has an idea that I want you guys to tell me good idea or bad idea. Now, I can't do polls because I only have so many screens here and I only have so much. It's me by myself. So like I'm doing all this by myself. So when it's Dave and I, and Dave says, put a poll up, I can do that. I can't do it by myself. But tell me what you think about this idea. Because Pete Alonso believes that we should have hockey-style fights for Major League Baseball. He wants players to not be ejected. That if you get hit if a pitcher hits somebody, that he has a right to charge the mound without the bat, to charge the mound for a fight. And if the pitcher and the player, if they get into a fight, both players stay in the game. Both players don't get ejected. If the pitcher doesn't want to get into that fight, the pitcher has to take a knee. He just kneels down, and thus no fight. If you fight him, my first thought was, if I'm as mad as to charge someone on the mound, I don't care if you take a knee. I'm coming after you. Like, take a knee all you want. I'm still coming after you. I'm still going to get my pound of flesh. So I don't know what happens if you kneel down, if you're a pitcher and you kneel down, and thus it says, I don't want to fight you. And the player's like, that's great. I want to fight you, so I'm going to fight you. But this would be wild if you allowed this to happen. Would I want Crochet in a fight? Hell no, CBW. No, I don't want that even. No, want no part of that. But I don't know. A part of me is kind of like, maybe it would solve some issues. I mean, again, baseball pitchers are holding a rock in their hands, and they get to throw 100 miles per hour at a guy who's just standing 65 feet away from them, basically 67 feet, whatever it is. And then go ahead and drill a guy, and the guy says, okay, I'm coming after you. And the pitcher then takes a knee, and like, we're all good. Like, no one's going to fight. But if you do fight, if the pitcher and the batter do get into a fight, that neither guy gets ejected. Awesome question. Would there be a third man in rule? Like, what does the catcher do? That's a great question. What would the catcher do? So like, if a guy gets hit and he charges your pitcher, and the catcher turns and does an A-Rod and Veritek situation. So like, you grab him and turn him around, and then you get into a fight. Do you get in trouble because you were a third man in if you went ahead and did that? That would be interesting. It would be insane to have pitchers fighting. Yes. Okay, bro, this is a batter who's talking about this. I don't want a pitcher fighting. Remember, like, back in the day when Pedro Martinez pointed at the head during the Yankee, I forget who he was pointing his head at. It was a Yankee player, journeyman, no-name guy for the Yankees. But then Don Zimmerman charged Pedro, and Pedro took him and chucked the old man to the ground. I defended Pedro. I was like, well, don't charge Pedro. Like, don't charge a guy. If you're an old guy, don't charge the guy. Robin Ventura charged Nolan Ryan and got his ass kicked. Like, just got destroyed. So like, be careful what you wish for. There's some big boys out there. There's some big boys. You want to charge Mizerovsky? He's 6'6". He's huge. You want to charge Paul Skeens? Good luck. So like, these are big guys. I don't know. It is a really interesting idea. It's like, what would baseball look like if we allowed fighting? Alonso wants fighting. I don't think we'll ever see it. There's too much money invested in baseball players. We'll never see it. You can't let guys charge the mound. Can't happen. But it was a pretty interesting thing that Alonso like volunteered. He was asked, what rules would you change in Major League Baseball if you had a chance? And his answer was, I want fighting. I want the pitcher and the catcher, I want the pitcher and the batter to be able to fight and have neither one of them be ejected. They stay in the game. Could you imagine that? They stay in the game. Like, there's no penalty box in baseball. So you had nowhere to, you can't say like they would miss a at bat or the pitcher gets removed. Like, both the pitcher and the hitter would stay in the game. Like, what in the world of Savannah Bananas would you have where a baseball pitcher gets to punch a guy, get into a fight, and then goes back to the mound and says, all right, let's go. What was the count again? Okay, let's do it. Interesting idea. It'll never take off. It'll never happen. But it is, I mean, Gustin Wakefield, it's a silly Barstool topic that he brought up. Barstool asked him, what rule would you change? And Alonso said this. It wasn't like, would you want fighting in baseball? That's not how the question was posed. I watched the whole interview. That's not how it was posed. It was, what rule would you change in Major League Baseball? And Alonso said fighting. I want fighting to happen in Major League Baseball, which I'm sure everybody was like, what did he just say? Like, Alonso's a big boy. Alonso's not a little guy. They call him the polar bear for a reason. I'm not sure how many people would want to fight him, but that's what he volunteered. He volunteered. No, you cannot fight in basketball, Addison. You're ejected immediately. You throw hands, you're ejected. You come off the bench, you get ejected and suspended. So there is no fighting in basketball. No, you're not allowed to fight in basketball. Interesting concept, but no, you're not allowed to do that. The NBA made some news yesterday with expansion, and Adam Silver talking publicly now about expansion and what the NBA is going to look to do with expansion. Now, clearly, this has a ton of people's attention here in Las Vegas, okay? Everybody wants to know what the NBA is going to do from an expansion standpoint, and are they going to give Vegas and Seattle teams? The commissioner saying yesterday that they are still looking at it closely, but they don't know when they will do it. Saying the 2-day Board of Governors meeting that's happening in New York right now, there is no timetable for when the league will look to add to the current 30-team format, but they are deeply studying what a 31 and 32 team league might look like. I mean, come on, there's no 31, there's 32. Silver said, quote, I wish I could be more conclusive today and say, here it is, here's the timeline. There are events that are clearly outside of my control. Part of it, as I said, is trying to assess value in a way that's both fair, even to a potential owner, and fair to the existing owners in terms of what it means to add additional partners, different cities, divide up our current media pie with either 31 or 32 shares. Seattle and Las Vegas. LeBron James has been very vocal about his desire to be an owner for a team in Las Vegas. And I think the league, to be quite honest, I think the league, or it feels like the league, is deciding to slow play this, to let LeBron retire and then become an owner. Works so well for Michael Jordan. Let's do it for LeBron. But I think that's what they want. I think ultimately they want LeBron to stay as connected to the league, but they want LeBron to be an owner, as to be the face of the team in Las Vegas, the same way that Tom Brady is quickly becoming the face of the Raiders in Las Vegas. So that, I think, is the play. So how much longer will LeBron play? It feels like LeBron has 1 year, maybe 2 years left, maximum. They're talking about him maybe getting traded. Like the thought is LeBron's going to show up to camp and be with the Lakers this year, but there's no guarantee of that. They sold the team and nobody called him. They called Luka. I mean, Jeannie Buss called Luka and said, hey, we're selling the team. She didn't call LeBron and tell LeBron ahead of time, hey, we're selling the team. So there is obviously some disconnect there with the Lakers and LeBron, but I feel like that's the play, because I keep on seeing renderings, and it's sort of like a Vegas local story, but I see renderings for this like NBA arena right next to the Fontainebleau on the Strip. I see a different rendering like every 2 months for what this would look like. And then you hear the owner of the Golden Knights, Bill Foley, talk, and Bill Foley says, hold on a second. You know, I'm not part of the LeBron crew, but I got an arena that I want to upgrade. And it was built with the idea of having 2 full-time tenants. We have 1.5 right now. The UFC, T-Mobile is the headquarters, if you will, the home base of the UFC, but they have like 4 or 5 events a year there. It's not like they, consistently have games or fight cards there. So that's not really that big of a concern. There is a whole separate road and home locker room, which the media uses for UFC events, for interviews during fight nights, that it's empty. There's nothing going on there. An NBA team could move in tomorrow, literally tomorrow. An NBA team could move into Las Vegas and be there playing at T-Mobile Arena. So that still feels like the most logical, of all these conversations as to like how this is going to be. But what's the slow play reason? Because by all accounts, there's folks in Seattle that want to bring back the Supersonics. There's an ownership group that's there that wants it done. And then there's obviously the Vegas group that is either LeBron or Bill Foley that want to get it done. Yet every time Adam Silver talks, he talks like this: vague, not very committed, maybe, it might happen. We're trying to set the price. We got to be in a spot to be competitive. It has to be economically successful. The team must be good, blah, blah, blah. What's the cost of the team? What's the expansion fee? What's the roster building going to look like? Like there's all these, like, they're throwing all of these things around. Gus in Wakefield says he was giving LeBron and Fenway Sports Group, we'll sell the Red Sox and start a team in Vegas. Book it. Gus, that's been the feeling for everybody here in New England for a while. I'm just not sold that John Henry is looking to get out from the Boston Red Sox. Why? Other than the money that the Red Sox would bring, that if you get $6 billion for the Boston Celtics, how much money will the Boston Red Sox bring? I mean, we're talking about one of the iconic sports franchises of all time. And they play 81 home games plus the playoffs, plus they own Fenway Park. Like, how much money would the Red Sox bring if the Celtics, without TD Garden, because they rent that building, without that, they bring $6 billion, and the Lakers sold for $10 billion? What will the Red Sox sell for? I'll listen to you because I think anybody would listen. If you find someone that wants to give you $15 billion for the Boston Red Sox, I think you listen. But you also don't just sell the Red Sox. Like, you just don't get rid of that team because it's an economic juggernaut. Even when the team is bad, you're printing money hand over fist. So I know there's like this theory that LeBron and John Henry, they're in this like cabal and they're crafting their next move together to sell the Red Sox because they're not going to spend money. Like, what the hell is going to happen to everybody here in town if the Red Sox buy at the deadline? Like, what happens if they go get a number 3 or number 2 starter and actually like give up on some prospects or take on salary, a big salary, to be competitive this year? Like, the narrative is going to be wild around here. It's already changing. For the better part of my life, I'm 48 years old. If you ever wonder why I was so enamored with WEEI in Boston, why working for WEEI was the pinnacle of my career, and when I got the phone call from the program director then, Jason Wolf, to say, hey, we want to bring you and hire you to be a part of this. We're going to have you do Red Sox postgame. We're going to give you a weekend show. We're going to develop you into a talent for us. I was like beyond ecstatic because EEI has been the standard, or was the standard, for a very long time because they were the home of the Red Sox. You didn't need anything else. You were the home of the Red Sox. When they won the World Series in 2004, and then in 2007, and then in 2013, like, it dominated. But then the Sports Hub came around, 98.5, and they did the counter conversation. Boston people we're Puritans by nature. We hate ourselves by nature. And by hating ourselves, we don't like to be successful. When our teams are good, we're always looking for reasons to poke holes in them. And so when you're listening to talk radio in Boston, you would think that everybody hates the Red Sox, Patriots, Bruins by the way that the most successful talk show hosts here in town talk. They crap on anything and everything that's good. You're winning, but you're not winning the right way, right? You look the part, but you really aren't the part. Well, the Red Sox are good again, and the Red Sox are a fun story again. And the Red Sox, the radio wars here in town, for the first time in a long time, EEI is starting to beat 98.5 again, which is ridiculous. It's crazy, but it's all the Red Sox. It's all because the Red Sox are winning, and the folks are back in on the Red Sox. And there's a whole younger generation that doesn't really remember what happened in 01, 02, 03 with the Red Sox. Bucky Dent, Bill Buckner. They have no idea. They've heard their grandfathers tell the story, but they have no idea what that's like. They've only known winning and now losing. 2018 was a long time ago for a lot of these kids. Okay, it was 7 years ago for a lot of these kids. They don't remember. Like, shoot, my daughter was born in 14. Like, she just saw winning and winning and winning and winning and winning. And the Red Sox haven't won for a while. She's 11 now, and she's like, I haven't seen the Red Sox win. She's seen the Patriots. She's seen the Bruins be good. Celtics won last year. But that's the change that's happening. So again, I go on the rant because I'm not entirely in of the belief that like there's this big thing about to happen here that we're going to watch John Henry get rid of the Red Sox. I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't think John Henry is selling the Red Sox the same way so many other people do. And I think the Red Sox are actually going to go for it. I think they're going to add. And it's going to cause a lot of people here in this part of the country to have to eat some of the words that they said in the wake of the Rafael Devers trade, which I liked. Look where the Red Sox are. Look where the Giants are. Maybe there was some method to that madness. All right, just an absolute crap sports day. There's nothing really going on besides the WNBA. And so it's the only game that I have even a clue on. I haven't bet much with the WNBA, but we're going to go ahead and take it. Vegas on the road against Dallas, and we're going to go over 170. This number is widely available right now. 8-2 to the over the last 10 times that Vegas and Dallas have faced off against each other. They've played one time this year. Game has gone over as well. Dallas has been not a great team to the over, but a better over team than under team. Vegas just came off of a 104-102 win at home against Golden State. Vegas is going to score today. Dallas doesn't play great defense. Vegas offensively is decent. When these two teams play, they tend to go up tempo. We're going over 170 today for Vegas and Dallas in the WNBA. That game is where we find the prop bet of the day as well. Again, staying right here with just the picks for the BvB prop bet of the day. I'm going to go with Jackie Young, who has had a really nice season quietly for the Vegas Aces, over 23.5 points, rebounds, and assists. In the last game up against Golden State, she had 39. She had 30 points, 3 rebounds, and 6 assists. On the road this year, she's been sort of like a 50-50 situation, but against Dallas in that game that went 88-84, she had 28 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. She hit 11 for 11 from the foul line and 7 of 16 from the field. She had 36 points, rebounds, and assists on that game was set at 29.5. This is being set all the way down, and it's actually as low as 23.5 at FanDuel. Other books are at 24.5 and climbing. So if you can get it at 23.5, that's the best play on this. But Jackie Young for the Vegas Aces up against the Dallas Wings tonight. Points, rebounds, and assists over 23.5. It's minus 125 at FanDuel. So it's a decent play to jump in on that. We're going with offense on that. Okay. Time for the Circa Sports Pro Football story of the day. This one's actually pretty wild. This story is one that everyone will be paying attention to very soon. But first and foremost, as I mentioned to you guys earlier, August 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, it is the ultimate football contest weekend at Circa Sports. We are going to be live for those 2 days on the 21st and 22nd. Dave Sherapan, that's our date targeting. Look, it's a ways away. It's a month away, but the hope is that Dave will be there. We'll be live broadcasting from the Ultimate Football Contest weekend on Thursday and Friday. As you guys know by now, you should at least Circa Sports, home of Circa Million. That is a 5-game per week pick contest for $6 million prize pool. $1 million goes to the first place winner plus a blue jacket. And Circa Survivor, 20 picks. You must go 20-0 for $15 million. Circa is expecting to go over that, so we're probably going to deal with 16 million or 17 million for Circa Survivor. You can enter in Nevada. You must be physically present in the state at a sports book at Circa, but you can hire a proxy if you need to put your picks in each and every week. More on that in a little bit. For that, Circa Sports, circasports.com for more information. Okay, let's talk about what's going on here involving the Bengals. The Bungles are in deep trouble. Shamar Stewart could go back to Texas A&M for college this year. He may not play football in the NFL this year. It's not outrageous. ProFootballTalk.com talked about this a while ago, that Stewart hadn't signed and that there was a big question about the contract that he currently has. Stewart is currently working out with A&M. He's not working out with the Bengals. Now, hold on a second. So he's back in school. Yes, NCAA rules would prevent him from going back to school now that Stewart has been drafted, but he could go to court. And if he goes to court, there are some people that believe that he could win the case to go back to college if he wanted to. I mean, this is crazy. The CBA isn't really clear about whether or not a team could lose a player to go back to college if they cannot get him signed. So where would he play? Because the Bengals, this is the 17th pick overall in the draft. It's the 17th pick in the draft. And the guy's like, I don't know. I'm not sure I want to go and play with you guys at the moment. Bud Elliott, who works for CBS Sports, said that Stewart is back in College Station and he may stay there. Quote, it may not be legal, but then again, everything in the NCAA is subject to litigation. I didn't know you could do this, but you could do this in baseball. I don't know if you could do that in baseball, but not football. You have to go to court. That he'd go back and say, I don't like the contract stipulation going on at the moment. I'm not signing. I don't like what they're offering. I don't like the contract they're making me sign. So I'm going to go back and decline the 17th pick in the draft. I mean, the Bengals, this is just not good. I mean, just not good right now in terms of, if you're a Bengals fan, your defense needs serious help. Your pass rush stinks. This is the guy who was supposed to come in and replace Trey Hendrickson if he walks. Like, there is so much bad around this that why are they doing this? Like, why are they having this huge issue? Because he does not like the contract that they are making him sign. The language of it, it's about voiding guaranteed years, about what happens, how it all goes down. He doesn't want to sign it. And this is a big sticking point for the Bengals. They want him to sign this contract, and his agent and Stewart's agent and Stewart himself simply saying, we're not doing it. We're not signing it. So we're going to go back to college. We're going to say no to the NFL, go back to college. This happens in pro baseball all the time. Why can't it happen for the NFL? Watch this story. This is wild as to how this may go down, because this kid was expected to be a major factor for this defense, and he may go back to college. Somebody in the chat's asking, why would he go back to A&M? Because that's where he played. I mean, that's where, imagine the NIL money that's sitting there waiting for him. He just go ahead and say, forget it. I don't need it. I'm going in there. Yes, you're right. Don't quote me on this, but I thought once you enter the draft, you're not eligible to go back to college. That's true. But everything could go through the courts, and the NCAA has lost over and over and over again in court. No one has tried to do this. I mean, you're the 17th pick in the NFL draft. No one has said, I'm going back to college. Wait, what? No one has tried to do this. So this is history. This is unprecedented that this kid wants to do that, because the Bengals are trying to make him sign a contract that he does not want to sign, that they want voidable years at the back end of the rookie contract. And the kid's like, I'm not signing that. Well, if you dig your heels in, I'm digging my heels in. Sorry, we're not doing this. And the franchise has been run like a clown show for a while when it comes to negotiations. Somehow they've gotten Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and other players to stay long-term by paying them to stay. But there was some questions about futures for all those guys as to, T. Higgins, he got paid. Can they pay anybody else? It's part of the problem. When you invest all this money in 3 players on offense, there's no money for anybody else. This is a cheap franchise. So, whew, really wild to see how this is going to go. Watch this, because it's going to be in the next 2 weeks. This thing is going to come to a head, and whether or not this kid's going to go back to college or not and make history by turning down the 17th pick in the draft, guaranteed money, guaranteed years, to say, I'm going back to college. All right, time for the Brigade Proxy Service college football team of the day. So if you guys remember, I'm doing college here because we've done pro football with Circa, and now we're doing college team of the day. Just because breaking down NFL schedules without Dave doesn't feel right. It just feels kind of So I want to hold that, and we'll talk about that probably going towards the start of the year. We'll have a conversation, hopefully, if Dave's able to come back. So I'm going to hold it in the hopes that let's hold that topic and do it when Dave comes back. But it would be fun to talk about this topic if Dave was here, because we did 2 SEC schools. We did Texas on Monday, Alabama yesterday. Let's do Penn State. Win total is set at 10.5. Over plus 125 at most books. Under minus 150. Why is it juiced to the under? Well, that has a lot to do with the schedule for Penn State. Penn State is playing at home against Oregon. Massive game. They play at Iowa right before they play at Ohio State. That is your prototypical Penn State stub your toe, lose a game you're not supposed to situation. And then they would go and lose at Ohio State. Back-to-back losses for the Nittany Lions. So there's your problem. There's your losses that could pop up, and maybe they might wind up dropping another game to somebody else, and then you're in trouble, right? So Nevada and FIU wins. Nova's a cupcake. Then you're going to say, okay, maybe they win at UCLA. Northwestern should be a win. Indiana should be a win, even though it could be a tougher game, but that's at home. Michigan State should be a win. Nebraska's a win. Rutgers is a win. You got 3 games, 9-3, 10-2, somewhere in that range. Penn State is plus 750 to win the national championship, behind Ohio State and Texas, who play in week 1. Then Georgia, who will play Alabama at home, and Penn State, who has to go to Ohio State to play. Penn State has a great quarterback. I like Drew Aller in college. I'm not sure I love Drew Aller as a pro, but Drew Aller in college, I love. Nick Singleton is arguably the best running back in college football. He's going to have a big, big year. Heisman Trophy watch list type stuff. They've got some defensive players that could have monster years, but they don't have the next Abdul Carter. They don't have that type of guy. But I trust Penn State. I trust their defense. I trust the guys they went and got in the transfer portal. This is going to be a very good Penn State team. You know what's funny? And people have made this analogy about Penn State. Look at all of the coaches who have won championships recently. Last 2. They couldn't win the big one. What happened 2 years ago? Jim Harbaugh won a national championship at Michigan. At Michigan. Everybody thought he can't win the big one. He can't get it done. He got it done. Turned around, went to the pros, now a coach of the Chargers, going into year 2. Last year, Ryan Day. No one trusted Ryan Day, right? Ryan Day can't win the big one. Lost to Michigan. Fire Ryan Day. Get rid of Ryan Day. Went and won the national championship. Is this the year for James Franklin to shut up people like me who have been talking about James Franklin and his inability to win big games for a long time? It could be. This could be the year. If you're a Penn State fan, you're thinking this could be the year. Some stats that collegefootballnews.com, our friend Pete Futek, highlighted last week. Penn State ran for 3,237 yards last year. They gave up only 1,629 rushing yards. And they're bringing back a senior-laden defense. Like, they got seniors all over the place on that defense this year. Again, they don't have an Abdul Carter, but the collection of their entire defense should be better than last year. And last year's defense was really darn good. They had 44 sacks last year on defense. 302 yards of sack yardage by that defense. Now, again, no Abdul Carter, but, and then the stat that everybody bet, Penn State coming out of halftime, they outscored their opponent 107-39 in the third quarter. I mean, okay. They have a huge game against Ohio State on the road. But if they get past Oregon, they're going to be back in the playoffs. Like, they've got the schedule, they've got the talent, they've got the quarterback. There's a lot of things to be excited about if you're Penn State. If you're Penn State, I think you can really look at this and say, all right, we are of the upper echelon. I can't wait to see where their preseason rank. Not that it matters, but I think Penn State's going to be a top 3 team, Penn State, in the rankings. They're going to be 1, 2, or 3. And if they're 1, it wouldn't shock me if they're 1. They're going to be 1, 2, or 3, maybe 4 at the worst with the polls. Because Ohio State and Texas play each other. So I'm wondering how the voters, not that it matters, but how are the voters going to take that? I'm assuming Texas will be 1 because of the Arch Manning hype, which started yesterday at SEC Media Days. So 1 is Texas. 2 is Ohio State, defending champs. 3, you can make a really good case that it's Penn State at number 3. I guess Georgia, you can put them in there potentially. So, like, I think Penn State, if you're a Penn State fan, you are counting down the days to kickoff for week 1. And you don't have a tough opponent for a month. I mean, look at this schedule. I mean, you have to be ecstatic at this schedule. Nevada win, Florida, FIU win, Villanova win. Okay, now we're going into the game against Oregon. Oregon, UCLA, Northwestern, Iowa, and Ohio State. 3 of those 5 games are on the road. Tough. The Oregon game at home, night game on Peacock, NBC, 7:30 kickoff. Huge game. Oregon's going to be good. They're always going to be good. So now you got to deal with that. And if you can beat them and you start 4-0, you feel like going out west to the West Coast, you're going to beat UCLA. You should take care of business at home against Northwestern, and then you can't stub your toe at Iowa. If you beat Iowa, you got Ohio State. If you beat Ohio State, you are in the playoff. Period. You're in the playoff. And that's all you're trying to do now. Just get into the playoff. And that's college football. Watch out for 8-4 Ferentz. It's happened before, Whitrock. I mean, Penn State fans will tell you this is what happens, right? I mean, it's the worst game to have right before Ohio State because you're on the road in back-to-back weeks and you got to play Iowa, which gets to play the massive underdog card, huge underdog card in that matchup. So perfect for Kirk Ferentz in Iowa. Like, so perfect for that to happen, for Iowa to trip up Penn State. It's so par for the course for that to happen. And I think most Penn State fans are like, oh no, that game against Iowa is going to be really tricky. Can't take it lightly. No, can't take it lightly. You got to be focused. You got to be 100% locked in if you're going to be there. So watch for Penn State. That game's, a ways away, but Penn State at Ohio State. But first, Penn State at Iowa. Gigantic game in the Big Ten. All right, time for news of the industry before we head to a quick bonus time for our favorite thing about today. The Crown is still causing issues for the books in Massachusetts. If you remember, the Crown was the tournament in Las Vegas that sort of popped up out of nowhere. And the books in Massachusetts didn't really know what to do with it. They didn't know how to handle it. And so they wound up having this conversation going on about whether or not they should take bets on it. And the books decided some books took bets on it, some books didn't. Some books took bets on it before it was licensed to be taken, to be bet on in the state of Massachusetts. And that is causing the Massachusetts Gaming Gaming Commission to take a look at this right now here in town. And I'm like, 20 miles from the Mass border. That tournament was a lot of fun in Vegas. That tournament is coming back again next year in Las Vegas, and we'll see how the books handle it around the country. But even the books in Vegas didn't know what to do with it. They hadn't really come up with an idea of how to book it. And so they had to go to gaming in Nevada and figure out how to book it. So that tournament is happening again. My gut tells me the books will be way more prepared for it, but the Crown is still causing issues for the books in terms of, did they take bets on it before it was approved? If the answer is yes, there's going to be fines coming down from gaming against books like, well, DraftKings, FanDuel, Bet365, Caesars, BetMGM, the books that operate in the state of Massachusetts, and those books that chose to take action on the Crown basketball tournament. Next year, probably easier. This year, not the start you were looking for if you were a sports book on these new tournaments that are popping up around college basketball. If you guys are with us on the replay crew, thank you for being here. We appreciate you guys either on Sports Grid TV or on Sirius XM. We are back tomorrow. Thursday is Debro NFC North breakdown for season-long NFL bets. We'll get to that tomorrow. If you guys are with us live, however, on our YouTube channel or on Twitter, don't move. We go to bonus time. All right, a couple of things before we do, or one thing before we do favorite thing about today on this. There are two bets that I have made for the Open Championship, and that I want to go ahead and talk about them. Sepp Straka and Justin Rose. Now, I'm going to give props to DraftKings here because DraftKings, I've been pretty negative on their golf offerings for several years. But DraftKings has now offered a new way to bet golf to avoid the dead heat rules. Now, they offer it for winner, top 5, and top 10. They use dead heat rules for those two markets. Obviously not a winner, but top 5, top 10. That's ties. If you bet it with dead heat rules, they can adjust the odds that you bet at. So you're not getting a fixed price. The price will move depending on who they tie with and depending on how many golfers tied with you. If you say you finish 5th, top 5, and you had plus 500, they can move it around, and now you're getting plus 200 or even money. You can get screwed. DraftKings now, top 20, top 30, top 40. They're offering markets with ties. So that's great for me here in New Hampshire because it's one book to bet on here in New Hampshire. But that is a good move by DraftKings. So they have listened to the market. They've listened to folks who have been highly critical of their golf offerings, and DraftKings has now moved. So with that stated, Sepp Straka at plus 150, top 20, including ties. Top 10 finish, came in 7th at the Scottish, played really, really well. Shot great on Thursday, great on Sunday. His middle rounds, Friday, Saturday, weren't great. But he is a player that is due. He's been consistent. There's a lot of money on him to win the tournament. In fact, most books have a top 5 liability on Sepp Straka to win the Open Championship. It doesn't mean anything. But from a top 20 perspective, I do think top 10 last week, good shot at him coming in the top 20 here for this tournament, which starts tomorrow. So I like Sepp Straka to come in the top 20. And then at plus 260 for Justin Rose. Look, he got my attention on Sunday because the guy went ahead and shot a 63, 5 under on the back, 7 under for the round on Sunday. And he rocketed all the way up to top to be 6th place by himself at the Scottish Open. He's an English guy. We haven't seen an Englishman win the Open Championship in forever. And I get the idea that he probably doesn't win the event. I don't need him to win the event. Just keep playing well. Put together 4 good, solid rounds on this par 71 golf course at Royal Portrush and go and just do your thing. He's been really good. He was tied for 2nd at the Masters. He missed the cut at the Open and at the Players. So the PGA. So he's 1 and 2 of the 3 majors prior, but second is pretty darn good. Or second is pretty good for the Masters. I think it was tied for 2nd in the Masters for Justin Rose. Do it again. Just go ahead and do it again. I don't mind him top 10. I don't mind him top 20, top 5 even for Justin Rose. I think he's going to have a really good week. I like Justin Rose a lot at plus 260. Justin Rose to come in. Yeah, Justin Rose top 10-ish. I like it. I like it a lot on that. So top 20, you can go ahead and do that. jump in with that if you want something. It starts tomorrow morning at 3 a.m. Eastern. Okay. If you're going to bet this, you can't just like get up in the morning and be like, oh, okay, here we go. Like, that's not going to work. Okay. You got to bet this now if you're going to get involved. So if you're betting the Open Championship, do it before you go to sleep, because when we all get up tomorrow morning, this thing's going to be off and running, and we'll have players on the course. And this is one of the good times. I'm actually happy to be here on the East Coast because I can watch golf in the morning. I can go ahead and get up and, watch golf. It's not like I have to get up in the middle of the night like I would have on the West Coast to go ahead and do that. So Open Championship, fourth and final major. It starts coming up here tomorrow at Royal Portrush for the Open Championship. So those are my first two plays. I'll have more than that. My first two plays, Sepp Straka plus 150, top 20, including ties. Justin Rose, top 20, plus 260, also including ties for that. I have put 1 unit down on both those plays for the Open Championship, which starts tomorrow for you guys who like golf. All right, favorite thing about today for me. Well, when we get here, I start feeling pretty good. We are 50 days away from the start of the NFL season. I know that feels like a long time, but it's not. 50 days is nothing, okay? Nothing. We are 50 days away from the start. In college football comes back a week before that. So we got even more time before that. Even actually, well, technically, August 23rd is even further. I mean, that's even better than that. I think that's 40 days, I think, or maybe even 38 days or so for college football to come back. So we're just a little over a month away from the start of college football. So if you are someone who is looking at your calendar going, I need something to watch, I need something to pay attention to, we're getting close. Favorite thing about today, we're getting close. Hold on. Just hold on. We're almost through this nuclear winter. All-Star Game last night. That's January 1st. That's New Year's Day. The sports calendar flips. We are now into the 2025-2026 sports calendar. Once you pass the All-Star Game, we're going to come back on Friday with Major League Baseball, and then we're going to roll into the weekend. I have got a crazy week next week, like an insane week that'll go by in 2 seconds. My sister gets married a week from Friday. We have the rehearsal dinner on Thursday. We have a Friday wedding, and then we have a Saturday party here at Amanda's house for my family, my sister, my family, and her now soon-to-be husband's family, all coming here to wrap up the wedding festivities, the wedding weekend here. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'm going to be lost. So basically, like all next week, draw a line through it. I'm already past it. I'm already moving on. So that week's gone. We're then under 40 days, basically, to the start of the NFL football season. It's coming so quickly. I'm leaving for Scotland on August the 3rd. So like that's right around the corner. So like we're close. We're counting down the days. We are 50 days away from the NFL year to come back. Very, very cool. 44 days until summer ends. Well, that's school, CBW, but summer still goes, at least in Vegas. Summer ends in October for Las Vegas. So we're nowhere near that, but I get your point. Kids go back to school on August the 11th. August 11th, kids go back to school in Las Vegas. Ridiculous. And you're absolutely right, CBW. She understood the assignment. Do not get married during the football season. No. Even in New England, we know that. Don't get married during the football season, boys and girls. No. Do not get married. If you want people to show up, don't get married in the fall. I don't care how beautiful the colors are in New England. Do not get married in the fall, or the South for that matter. In the South, they just tell you we're not showing up. Some of the best stories I ever was told and learned of in the South. I've told the story before, but I met a couple whose daughter had to get married on the third Saturday in October. And they'd say, congratulations, we're paying for your wedding. We're not going to be there. And they didn't go. Alabama, Tennessee, they had gone every year for like 30 years. That superseded their own kid's wedding. Great stuff. Thank you for being here. Tomorrow, we'll talk some NFL football with D-Bro from Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros. NFC North will be the division we break down tomorrow on the program. Thank you for being here. Back for a Thursday episode of the Bostonian versus the Book.